A local tech startup, Momint, has been nominated for Southern African Startup Awards, taking the first step towards solving South Africa's energy crisis. The local tech startup is based in Cape Town and has developed a groundbreaking solution that aims to solve South Africa's energy crisis by making investment into a solar power accessible to all South Africans by February 2023. One of the first sites to receive its solar power installation through the SunCash initiative is the Delmas High School in Mpumalanga, which will have converted fully to renewable energy by the end of this month. Momint has been nominated in the Green Tech and Web 3.0 categories for this year's Southern African Startup Awards, and looks forward to sharing the SunCash initiative with SADC states this year. For more on this, we're now joined via Zoom by Ahren Posthumus. He is the CEO of Momint. A very good afternoon to you, and thanks so very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I think it's a dire time in our country right now, and I think to lay a little bit of groundwork on what we're doing, I think there's three basic realities that we have to face. And the first one is that it's absolutely failed us. The World Bank has estimated that we'll need $500 billion worth of investment into our grid by 2050 to avoid a total shutdown. And that kind of investment is unlikely to happen.
Yeah.
The second fact is that the upside is that there are alternatives, right? But they're very expensive. There's oil, gas, nuclear, and coal stations. And the biggest problem with those is that we're reliant on large institutional powers or the ruling party, our government, to try and fix that problem. And that leaves all South Africans in the same position that we're currently in, where we feel helpless. We're hoping that somebody else can fix the problem for us.
Yeah.
So solar is the only solution that we have right now to feasibly cut Eskom out of the equation. And that's the only way we're going to be able to move forward. So I think even better is because we're using blockchain technology, we, the people of South Africa, can become Eskom. And by that, I mean that we can earn the money that Eskom is currently squandering by us busy paying for the solar to be installed across schools and institutions like the Delmas High School, and South Africans can get the return for the payment of that electricity. So that's basically what we're doing.
All right, let's talk about then this groundbreaking sort of solution that would ultimately, or as you plan, it would make solar power accessible to all South Africans. How would that be possible? I mean, we're talking about a time frame of a month, if I read correctly, that you're hoping to get this started within the next month. Are you prepared for that? And talk to us about how, this process.
Absolutely. So actually, like you said, we've already gone live with the Delmas High School, and just yesterday we launched another development in Tafelsheer. So just to be clear, individuals can invest in solar panels that are put on another institution, so a building or a school or a mall, right, which is great for our country. But we've tokenized those down using blockchain technology so that you can invest from as little as 85 Rand, right? We have a website, you can buy a solar cell with SnapScan. And we're not looking to make any profit on this. We just realized that as a tech company, we don't have a business if our country doesn't have electricity. So this really was a solution that we thought was an incredible use case for blockchain technology. And essentially, the school or the building leases out those solar cells from you if you've bought a solar cell, and you get paid that on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
It works out to about a 12% return, which is better than you can get in any bank account. And the reason for that is because we're not trying to make any margins. We're really just trying to accelerate the rollout of solar across the country.
Yeah, and then I want to talk about the first site that has benefited, that is the Delmas High School in Mpumalanga. Why was this particular school chosen, and how are they doing since this particular benefit that they've gotten?
Yeah, so the Delmas High School installation is currently underway. It'll mean that there are about 1,000 school children who now never have to suffer the pain of load shedding. And I think there's so many of those nuanced issues that occur in our country that people sort of glaze over. Of course, we all like to complain, and we see the issues with Eskom, but education is getting hit. As we just saw in the previous news story, agriculture is getting hit, businesses are getting hit. These are long-term negative repercussions. I mean, we've worked with a number of organizations and looked at schools where, the richest kids are sitting in the front with the paraffin lamps because their parents are able to pay for the oil so that they can actually continue their studies. I think this is just completely inhumane and not the standard that we as South Africans strive towards living. And I think I speak for all South Africans when I say that. We deserve better.
Yeah. And just in closing, I mean, you've been quite critical of, the government as well as Eskom. What's the difference between, what you would be providing or offering and to what Eskom is currently doing? Do you think that you can certainly fix this energy crisis when a big utility like Eskom is certainly, and I think we can say, is sort of failing?
I think it's not a criticism or an opinion when we say it's failing or it's defunct. I think at this stage it really is a fact that we can look to on an audit trail. And absolutely, I do think that this is a solution to it because South Africa has an incredibly strong private sector. We have one of the best fintech economies in the world. In fact, businesses are extremely resilient. The JSE has performed fairly well despite, the issues with our government. So privatization or looking to the private sector to address this issue, I think, is the perfect solution. We're also using a number of OEMs, or in layman's terms, just installers who install the solar onto these sites, which means that there's competition there, right? And competition always breeds excellence. It's one of the issues that I think has led to Eskom's downfall, is that there's been absolutely no power provider competition. And I think in the long run, that's going to be really good for our country that now we do have some competition. So definitely, I think this is a solution that we should all be looking to. And most of all, I would call upon all South Africans to, not necessarily this even, but just look towards something that you can do as an individual to alleviate this issue. I've made a call to all of the middle and upper income class households. Please, if you're going to Woolies or you're shopping for your next meal, think about the country and the long term that we need to live in, and think about where you're allocating your money. Not everyone has money to be able to afford an inverter or a solar installation on their house. And really, contributions like this go a long way.
All right, thanks very much for giving us your time then. Ahren Posthumus, who's the CEO of Momint, there speaking to us.